And good afternoon, racing fans. Welcome to Hawthorne Racecourse for a Sunday afternoon of thoroughbred action. Jim Miller and Emily Gullikson up here in our mezzanine level studio. Emily just had a couple of new commercials. Great to see Peter, our track announcer, featured out there. The one and only Peter Galassi. He is the man up in the booth.
I like that commercial because it's all horse racing and it's all betting, and I got hyped watching that. That was the first time I've ever seen it.
They did a nice job with that. I mean, it was
really
super
good.
helpful with everything that they were able to produce through that commercial. So just kind of showing a little bit of the aspects of what happens behind the scenes, what you see out on the racetrack and that. And it's really cool to see that they also noted the fact that after today, we're back at it on Thursday. So 7-11 racing on Thursday. Looking forward to that. 2:10 first post. Thursdays, I think, should be a good day because there's not nearly the competition that you see on Saturday either.
Yeah, and a lot of the racing starts later with Woodbine and things like that. So it'll lead kind of right into it. Long day of racing. I think it'll be great. Horseshoe Indianapolis, that's right, because Ellis doesn't run on Thursday.
Right.
Churchill did, but Ellis doesn't. So yeah, we'll have. Be a good day. I'm looking forward to it.
And I think Horseshoe Indianapolis, they only have like 1 or 2 more weeks, and they take like their little summer break where they take a couple of week break too. So I think after the first couple of weeks, then we're going to kind of be out there on an island for the start of the day on Thursdays too. So expect really solid cards as the races have been filling very well throughout the course of the meet. So it should be very good for those Thursday races. And again, at 2:10 p.m. first post each and every day here at Hawthorne. All right, Emily, 10 races here today. We have sunny skies, warmer temps, so short and post parades today. Fast main track, firm on the turf course. We're going to kick things off on the grass today. This is a tough race to get the fill, so I was happy when we were able to get 6, even though we had a scratch in here, but $80,000 optional claimers for 3-year-old, straight 3-year-old fillies, 5.5 on the turf. Really good field to kick it off. An interesting board right now, and it will change, but Pink Lady Lucia is currently 3-5 on the board right now.
I thought this race was extremely tough because there's so many question marks in this field. A lot of the fillies are doing something new, including Pink Lady Lucia, though she did start off her career on the turf, just in some tougher spots, so that early action. But number-wise, there's not much between most of the field, and Chloe Attack is a little bit on the slower side, but then you have Dangerous Connections. So I thought this race was extremely tough. I know we're going to cycle back around. I think kind of my opinion was going to be just to get a look at the horses in the paddock because there's not much separating them, and then looking at the board, and maybe that early action drifts up on Pink Lady Lucia and becomes playable at that point. But tough race to get things going.
It really is a tough race to kick off the card. And you mentioned Chloe Attack and the connections. Vance Childers had a win in a second late in the day yesterday. Horses have been running well from that barn. Die Surprise, I expect, will be favored come post time here from the inside, just because this is the one that is proven on the turf and in turf sprints, and it's very good connections here. Dorothy Crowfoot in this race as well, but we will get back to this race in about 15 to 17 minutes, so therefore race number 1. Race 2 today, Illinois maiden allowance runners in the spot. They go 3/4 of a mile in the second. We're going to scratch the 5. That's Prefectus Urbanus in here. Leaves you with a field of 5 to line up. Emily, you have to start with the 1 Canyon Shadows because it's kind of the most logical one based off the races. And then after that, I think it kind of comes down to maybe the first timers in here. I'm not sure. How did you see things kind of unfolding for the second?
Yeah, another tricky race. Saw it the same way where you start with Canyon Shadows, but it's going to be a short price. Just kind of the public's going to default there because you have some form. And then you have a couple first-time starters. Number 6, Cruisin' and Cursin is taking some attention right now, so that's worth a follow and following the paddock. And then I give kind of a long shot look to number 2, Good Yeg, one that's going to come off that very, very, very long.
How many days?
952 days. It's a very long time layoff. But, you know, bringing him back as a 7-year-old, and it's kind of one of those things where you're coming back off a very long layoff. You're not always guaranteed you're going to get a prep.
Right.
So you kind of have to be race ready, and the fact that they've had to be so patient could be interesting. And looking at the plot, those 2, Canyon Shadows, Good Yeg, are side by side. So if there's even money on one, longer shot on the other, and he looks good in the paddock, I could make a little gambling case there.
The thing about Good Yeg, and it's so weird because you see a horse that has running lines at Arlington Park within its most recent running lines, which we're running out of here. But Good Yeg's been working consistently towards the return. It is the question of whether or not this one will need a race coming back. Dominant D was the one of the 2 Elias Lopez at the start that I thought maybe had the better shot, again, based off the works. Everything is going to revolve around Canyon Shadows, but Canyon Shadows is also going to be a very short price favorite there in the second. So it's a matter of whether or not you choose to get creative in that spot. Third race today has $5,000 claimers, not winners of 2 races lifetime. They go 3/4 of a mile. Scratch the 5, Charlie's Beach. I thought that was a pretty big scratch in this race. Be Lucky is going to be, again, a heavy favorite in here, and the question is whether or not this one gets loose and lonely on the lead. probably does in here, and if this one does, just may never look back.
I mean, if you're looking at the data, this horse is clear, lone on the lead.
Yep.
I mean, there's just no way around it. So should have no excuse in here. I think Be Lucky is probably the most likely winner, especially in these first 3 races that we're talking about. Okay, there's some favorites. Like, we still kind of leave the door open. I think Be Lucky, of the favorites to start off, is the most likely, most logical, because it has that huge pace advantage in this field.
Does have the huge pace advantage. I was actually hoping Charlie's Beach would stay in just to maybe try to put a little bit of pressure on the horse, but that one's out, so Be Lucky may be gone. Stolich is the horse that I gave a little bit of a look to at a bit of a price. The barns had some decent races this meet. Frank Reyes rode this one, or rides this one today, but he's ridden this one in the past as he rode the horse last year and had a little bit of success as well. I was searching for a bit more of a price, but right now, Be Lucky probably, especially after that scratch, is probably going to be 2 to 5 in that spot.
Yeah, I went those 2 as well, but then after the scratch, it just kind of changes it a little bit. But it could be a cold exacta.
It could be, right, and
yeah.
maybe one of those where you just try to take the free space in the pick 5 and the early pick 4, and then move forward and see if you can catch some prices elsewhere as well. Race 4 today goes 1 mile and 70 yards, $10,000 claimers in the spot. You get a field of 6 to line up in here. And Emily, looking at this race, you have Code Runner, who comes in from races in Kentucky into this spot. You're finding things easier here today. I laid the horse as the favorite. It's just a question of how this horse will handle the Hawthorne strip, but it's worked well over the track too.
Yeah, he's been a follow since those races at Keeneland, even going back to Turfway Park, and I know they've been trying to get the horse in the race for the different connections. Now has the barn changed, which I don't mind. Fits this race perfectly fine. Brian Cook runners have been coming out live as of late. Christmas Present pairing up wins this outfit, and again, has those races there, and just from a class standpoint, could just have the edge over this field. So another favorite that made a lot of sense. I tried to get creative again with number 5, Stronger Together. I'm going to give him another chance. I expect a little bit more last out, but he was wide, not asked for run. So one more chance today.
And that was that tough starter race that Stronger
Correct.
Together comes out of in their last out. So I think you find things a little bit easier in here. You have to figure ahead of the game is probably going to show some speed. Jeff the Lion's the one I went to only for the fact of the intent. They scratched out of a much, much, much tougher race yesterday for this spot here. They're dropping in for the tag, and they run for the $15,000 tag, being an Illinois bred. So maybe worth looking at that horse again, just based off the fact that the intention was to run in this spot today. So Jeff the Lion, the one I'll go to there in the 4th. 5th race is leg 2 of the helicopter series. Go a mile and a 16th in the spot. Starter Allowance Company. Scratch the 4, Slava Ukrainian here. Leaves you with a field of 5 to line up. Couple of new shooters in this race. City we got on the outside, Dick Best on the inside, and I think Dick Best, just figures-wise alone, looks to kind of lay over this field. But again, you're coming here to Hawthorne, and this is going to be the first start over the track, and the horse doesn't even have a workout posted here either.
Well, they were going to run the Bertrando Stakes at Los Alamitos, ran here instead. Was extremely dominant in that most recent start out at Santa Anita. I was just a little concerned if that was a taxing effort. Now, he has had over 30 days since, so has that recovery time, and lands in this spot where another horse that could have a pace advantage. So when you have some of that potential regression off the hard effort, he still might not need to run an A+ race in order to win, especially if you have a pace advantage. So I think Dick Best makes a lot of sense. Double Thunder, we'll keep him honest though up front. So he's going to have to come running even with those things on his side. City of God, going back to the race back at FanDuel on May 7th, that was such a sneaky good race. He's been just in a little bit too tough in the races that followed, but maybe this is the spot, especially if there is some contention in there. I don't think we've seen the best from him on this circuit, so a little bit of a wise guy look. Did you go in that direction?
Yeah, no, I ended up going Dick Best in here.
Okay.
But City of God, I mean, the race you talk about, the winner of that race came right on back and won its next start out too. Double Thunder, a horse that should be a factor as well. Dick Best is the one that I did go to in here, and I'll be curious to see how the track plays. After workouts this morning, the blade was out, so they took a little bit of surface off the racing surface today. So see if things speed up a little bit, see if it plays a little bit more front, or see if it just continues to play evenly. But a little bit of surface was taken off the racetrack, so something to definitely monitor for today's races as well. 6th race, we get back to the turf. We go 1 mile on the firm turf going for race 6. 17-5 claimers, now winners of 2. Scratch the main track only, the 9 Resolution. Field of 8 in here, Emily, and looking at this field, Chris Block had a runner yesterday that ran really well in the grass. He actually had a couple that ran really well in the grass. He's got my box office in here, a horse that just going to find things a little bit easier. Maybe the dropping for the tag is all this runner needs.
Yeah, I mean, really, the horse has had 2 back-to-back excuses, closing out 2023 with an excuse and coming back this year with an excuse. So drawing a line through both those races, you don't have to draw a line through the last 8, just those last 2.
That's right.
Coming back around, then has the class drop, which worked out for Miss River Rat yesterday on the drop, getting that. So not concerned. I think just placing the horse where they can compete, especially looking for redemption after those 2 excuses.
Some are willing to overlook the last 8 and then kind of build from there. For us, I mean, we want to keep things a little bit closer, just maybe within the last couple of starts. Yeah, I mean, you can forgive a couple of starts for sure. When you dig a little bit deeper, it does make it a little bit tougher. But I do agree with you there. I picked on box office second in the spot. I went to Miss K's Dynasty in here. Adamar Santos has come in and ridden some good races over this Hawthorne strip. This is a horse that ran really well over a yielding turf 2-back. And then in that last out, finished 6th in there. That was a race that was kind of tough to make up any ground that day. But I think Miss K's Dynasty can show a little bit more in this spot. We saw some horses come from a little bit out of it yesterday, and I think you'll just get a little bit better price there in race number 6. 7th is a good field. Again, $80,000 optional claimers in here. They go 3/4 of a mile. It's a field of 7 to line up in this spot. And it's interesting when you look, the 2 Illinois breds are both in for the increased $120,000 tag. And I think you have to protect them both in Megan's Honor and WW Hotshot. WW Hotshot's the horse you probably have to start out with in here. It comes off an Illinois bred stakes victory in that last out. But hey, even if they were to claim the horse out of here, that would mean you would have to win the next 2 Illinois stakes just to make up for that claiming price. So it's good that you have that ability, because that's maybe the reason the horse is in this race today.
Yeah, I mean, you're pretty much protected, right, for the reasons that you mentioned. And coming off that stakes win, did have a perfect trip, had a lone trip 2-back. And I think he's going to find other pace pressure in here, especially with number 5, Fit to Fly, coming off the layoff. That's the direction that I went. So if he comes back to top form, has that early speed, WW Hotshot, maybe just not quite finding that perfect trip, or decides to sit right off, Fit to Fly could be gone. So I had to give the look there. And then also number 7, Devil's Tower. Devil's Tower has some sneaky good races. And then coming back from that most recent start out at Prairie Meadows, it was wide. The trouble was maybe not as significant, but I think the track was kind of tough was better on the inside. He was wide, so a little bit of an upgrade there.
Trainer Armando Hernandez recently saddled his 100th career winner. It was actually on the turf course here last Sunday, so he's off to a really good start for his training career. Everything seems to run well. Devil's Tower should be a factor. I did put that one in the mix. I think WW Hotshot is just going to be too good, but again, it's the question of if Fit to Fly gets loose and lonely on the lead coming off the layoff, but that's a good competitive bunch. Don't overlook the chances of Went West from the inside
I was going to say, we want the whole
he's
thing.
So
and
honest, too.
West coming up back-to-back wins.
Oh, my gosh. He's such an honest
racehorse.
Race. Yeah, that's a really good race. The 8th is a really good race, too. 13 5 claimers in the 8th in here. They're going 5.5 furlongs in this spot. Scratch the 7, Mr. Frost. And it's interesting because we both gave this horse a little bit of a look. I went to Pinballer on top in this spot. I like the horse. I like it back on the turf. Thought it was actually a kind of sneaky good race in that last out. And I think you'll get a decent price because of the big field. And I know you gave Pinballer a little bit of consideration as well.
Yeah, I mean, I like 215 to 1 shot, so I'm not trying to say, hey, I like 1, 2. They're both A's. 215 to 1 shots. They're both on top. With Pinballer, for all those reasons, I thought he was just going to move up on the turf last out. Did just that. Should get another favorable trip in here. And then number 3, 357 as well. Just a class drop alone moves this horse up. Surface switch, everything going in the right direction. Has some tactical speed. So 2 long shots for me. I'm ready to stab in this race and get creative. I respect Nick Vicker. I think that one's going to get a lot of attention. Same thing with number 6, Dragon Drew. But listen, live prices. You got to take your shot when you see them.
And we just talked about how good Went West has been. That's the race that 357 comes out of in their last out. That was an optional 50. This is a 13.5. So much easier company. The shift over to the turf. The horses run a couple of decent races on the grass as well. Pinballer in that last out, I thought ran a decent race. Rated close early on, kind of angled down the lane. Tightrope set a course record that day. Dragon Drew ran a good race again. That was a day that pace was pretty good out there on the turf course, and Pinballer definitely held his own. He's going to be a price in here. I think he'll run a good race. You pick up Rachel Slavinsky once again in the saddle, so I'm going to give Pinballer the look there in race number 8. 9th race is the race that got hurt by scratches here. Decimated a little bit with the scratch of the 1, Betty's Secret, to 2, Galib's Magic, 7, Lunar Key, and the 8, Mud Hut. So there's only 5 in this spot. Throw all the odds out the window because you lose the favorites in here. So Top Look is a horse that probably inherits the favoritism now. I think Sweet Crystal moves up a whole heck of a lot too with the scratches in this spot.
This race is extremely competitive. You can make a case for every horse in this field, and I'm not just saying that. I mean, really, you just start going through each scenario, starting with Top Look, the right move just in terms of class, placing her right back down where she can compete. Sweet Crystal could just get loose and low. It could just be one of those that's a rider's race where everyone tries to sit second, and then Sweet Crystal just goes and is gone. If there is a scenario where they try to put some pressure on Sweet Crystal, or she backs up like she has in those recent races, you have Top Look and Jocelyn right there, and even right next to them is Tap and Twine. And Tap and Twine could just get in the right trip, and this could be the day, and this is the one that's going to probably be the longest shot in here. Even She's a Hoot. She's a Hoot 2-back, ran that huge race, that better than looked effort. Again, they bunch up. She's a Hoot just sits off that freight trip and swoops the field. Again, I just made a case for everybody in here, but those two price horses I'm going to give a look to. I'll even put Tap and Twine on top. Why not? Let's take a shot.
I picked the horse second in here. I thought the horse had a good shot. You go a 16th of a mile further off that last. Really, the best races for Tap and Twine are at 3/4. So this one's been running 5.5 in the last couple and has shown some improvement. Rashawn Blanche has been a good fit for the horse. So Tap and Twine, a horse that I'll have in the mix under Top Look there in race number 9. In the 10th, you get a field of 9. They're going 7.5 furlongs in the spot. $20,000 maiden claimers. I think you kind of have to start with Giano in here and then work from there. Horse ran a pretty good race in that last out. Temple Fool was the horse that split horses for that victory for the first training win for Irvin Moreno on his career. But Giano held his own, and this is a horse they've tried numerous times to get back on the grass, too.
Yeah, and Giano's trip wasn't that great. He broke slow. The ride was a little indecisive. And going into that May 25th race, looked well spotted with the class drop, with the shift to turf, things that you mentioned they've been looking for. So it comes back under similar conditions with a rider change. David Cohen taking over today. Just makes a ton of sense, but this race is deep. There's a lot of ways to go. It's on the turf. It can come down to trip just like it did last out. Le Perfect Bee, I think, moves up, has some form that makes a lot of sense, moving forward in the right direction. Even the debut race was really good and looked like a turf horse that day. Prince is my boy. He turned in a competitive race in the turf in his second career start. That race is certainly buried since. His figure was on the lower side, but that was a juvenile. His current form fits completely on par. And then Regimental is going to drop to Maiden Claiming Company, first time Maiden Claiming Company on this circuit. He has that pattern of slow starts, but everything could just come together in the right time and place. So a race I'd want to spread. I think Giano makes a lot of sense, but I'd want to use some backups in here, especially since we're keying off some other prices in the earlier part of that sequence. You know, hoping for some fireworks in there, and then first time starter number 4, Io Fedro, another one they've tried to get on the turf and lands in a spot for live connections.
Such a tough race. You could almost use all of them in that spot there and make a case for all of them. So that is a very tough race. If you're alive in the late pick 5 or the late pick 4 to that race, best of luck to you, because you should get paid. I ended up going Giano. I followed up with my brother Mike. I thought my brother Mike ran a pretty good race in that last out. You know those connections are going to take money because they go out there, and Steve likes to bet early. But my brother Mike is a horse that I think should be a bit of a factor off that late closing move in that last out as well. All right, that's how we see the 10 races here on this Sunday card. We're going to flip back to the opener again. Sunny skies, fast main track, firm on the turf course today. And in the opener, $80,000 optional claimers go 5.5 furlongs over the firm turf course. Scratch the 6 Highwood in the spot. From this field of 5, still favorite is the 4 Pink Lady Lucia. So let's start with that one in this spot, Emily. Julio Felix aboard for trainer Elias Lopez. Not saying the horse can't win, but definitely doesn't provide any value right now.
Yeah, I mean, this race is tough, and maybe we can start to see things drift because she was much shorter than the 8-5 we're seeing right now. She's going to make a belated return of the turf. Now, as far as some of those races where she has been in the turf as of late, I think they'd also been looking for main track only, especially when it comes up on an off track. She just skips over an off track.
Right.
She's really cool to watch on an off track. Like, one of those really true moves up on an off track.
Different racehorse. Yep.
Completely. But going back to her first couple starts, they started her on the turf. So there's some intention that she was a turf horse. That was in the connection of Lindsay Schultz, Michael Dubb, the owner. So these are connections that were kind of like, she's a turf horse. She'll make that belated return to the turf. Number-wise fits. Has to put it all together in terms of this race in a sprint distance because she's often not the best out of the gate. So that could be something to keep in mind. But as we're talking right now, the board just shifted. She's no longer favored. Yeah, she's 8-5 right now as the second choice. I think she'll continue to drift up in here. The favorite's that one right there on your screen, the 1. That is Die Surprise. This one from the barn of Larry Ravelli. David Cohen gets the call today. Pair of turf sprint starts on this meet, and I'll tell you, it was a really good maiden effort. It was a pretty solid allowance effort in that last out behind Cadencia, and there goes a 16th of a mile further. Probably should be in the mix from the start and should contend the entire way. Yeah, she's kind of the known factor in here. As far as her maiden win back on May 19th, she had a really favorable trip. She was in a hard drive in order to get into the race and then get the first run. You mentioned Cadencia, who's really good, came back and won, so no fault in there. She was bumped into a rival in the lane, but it wasn't really significant trouble because Cadencia had that race completely measured.
Yep.
You know, as far as Die Surprise, I think that she makes sense because she is that known commodity, but number-wise, she's not far off others in here, so that if they bring their game to the turf, she's going to have to work hard to win and really doesn't have much advantage at that point.
Yeah, she just clicked down to 7-5 on the board right now. I do expect that she does remain as the favorite and will go off favored in this race. Now the 5-horse here at 4-1 is Dream Nap. Dream Nap from the barn of Hugh Robertson. This one's been really impressive in the 2 starts on the main track. Both of those against State Bred Company though, but now you're stepping up to face that Open Company, and this is a pretty significant step up in class, but I think they wanted to get turf. They're getting the turf in here, and you're catching a little bit shorter field for straight 3-year-old fillies, so that's something that could be beneficial to them as well.
Yeah, she would be no surprise. I mean, Dream Nap is extremely talented.
Yeah.
The debut was extremely good, B+, suggested she could step up in class, did just that, came back and win, had to rush up, showed a lot of class and a lot of grit. I think this is kind of a good spot because you really don't have, you just take a shot, right? You get to find out if she's a turf horse, you get to find out if she can take on Open Company, and then you move forward from there regardless of outcome. But she could definitely compete in here. You are getting some odds. She could fall into playable category in here, especially if you're trying to take on Die Surprise, which she doesn't. Die Surprise doesn't scare me in here. I would rather play Dream Nap at the 4-1, 7-2.
And right, that price is very playable on her in this spot, and I do expect she's probably going to hold right around there. Now the horse walking right in front of her is the 2. That's Dorothy Crowfoot. Lexus Centeno aboard this runner for Larry Ravelli. First time on the turf for Dorothy Crowfoot. The horse does have speed. I tend to wonder of the 2 Ravellis if this is the one that tries to get sent away and make the top.
You know what? That might be the right plan. She's had some subtle excuses coming back around. There was the prior reins, the sealed track. She ran a really good race coming off the layoff. Maybe ran too good of a race that it played against her in that June 22nd race in the 3-week turnaround. She was slightly restless in the gate. She had a duel between horses with the eventual winner. So coming back in here, she's coming out of races that had a much higher race par. So from that standpoint, she actually has a major class edge over the others in here. The turf is an unknown, but you're getting 5-1. If you start crossing out some others in this field, you don't want to play the 2 short price horses, and you think Chloe Attacks is a little bit too slow, really process of elimination, you've got Dorothy Crowfoot and Dream Nap. She becomes one of the playable runners.
Firm turf, scratch of the other speed in this race, everything kind of moves her up. So I do think she could be a factor. 5-1 is a pretty surprising price. And then lastly is the 3, Chloe Attack. This one from the barn of Vance Childers. Frank Reyes gets the call today. She does possess some speed as well. Was good down at Fairmount Park last year, and I think the 2 races this year have been decent. You do get Lasix for the first time today, so maybe that moves her up a little bit. She moves from the State Bred Company to Open Company, but again, Vance Childers in turf sprints tends to pop at times, and when he does, it seems to be like it's at a price.
Yeah, and she makes a really good appearance right now, and if you are projecting a move forward, this could be the time. Going back to her juvenile season, that August 29th race, she ran a top figure. Coming back around off the layoff, she paired up that number on May 5th, so this would be the 3rd off. This would be the time, so she's going to have to improve, probably going to have to take a 10-point improvement, but if she does, she's right in the mix.
Riders getting a leg up for race number 1. We start to pick 5 here. Good luck.
Coming on the track for today's first race, they'll go 5 1/2 furlongs on a turf course listed as firm with the rails set at 10 feet out. Scred 6 Highwood, field of 5, no jockey changes, no overweights. Win, play, show, exacta, trifecta, superfecta. This race starts at rolling daily doubles, rolling pick 3s, the 50-cent pick 5, and the $1 place pick 8. Here they are: 1, Die Surprise, David Cohen riding. 2, Dorothy Crowfoot, Alexis Centeno in the saddle. Number 3, Chloe Attack, Frank Reyes aboard. 4 is Pink Lady Lucia, Julio Felix. 5, Dream Nap, Orlando Mojica. 6 is Scratch. We're on the turf in about 4 minutes for the Sunday opener at Hawthorne. We do urge you to make your selections early. Racing fans, little time remains for you to wager on today's first race here at Hawthorne, first of 10 on today's Sunday program. Dirt track is fast, turf is firm, rail set at 10 feet out on the turf course. First race is on the grass. 10 races today, one carryover. The 10th race, high five carryover, $917. We do thank you for joining us wherever it may be across the betting network. Pleasant temperatures here in the Chicagoland area. Clouds coming in. We do have a slight headwind in the home stretch. Another reminder, our racing schedule goes to Thursdays and Sundays beginning this coming Thursday, July 11th. First race every day, we race 2:10. They're moving towards the gate for the first here at Hawthorne, close to starting time. Better hurry. Racing fans are at the starting gate for today's first race. Horses moving onto the turf course to begin the loading procedure. Just 5 to go in here. Die Surprise in. Dorothy Crowfoot is in. Last 2 to go in, Chloe Attack and Dream Nap. Waiting now for Dream Nap. She's in, they're on the gate. They're off. Dream Nap from the outside going to the lead. In between horses, Chloe Attack. Die Surprise up along the rail. Die Surprise takes the lead. Dream Nap 3 wide. Between those two, Chloe Attack. Dorothy Crowfoot 2.5 lengths back. And fourth in the early trailer, Pink Lady Lucia. She's about 6 lengths from the leader with a half mile to run. Die Surprise the leader. Chloe Attack right there second. Dream Nap out there third. Dorothy Crowfoot and Pink Lady Lucia, they move around the turn, less than 3 furlongs to go. Die Surprise keeps her lead, and on the outside, Chloe Attack racing second. Dream Nap lost a bit of ground, then towards the inside, Dorothy Crowfoot. Pink Lady Lucia swings wide for the stretch run. They come off the turn and straighten away. Die Surprise the leader. In between horses, Chloe Attack, Dorothy Crowfoot looking for racing room down along the rail. And on the outside, Dream Nap, they're in deep stretch. Die Surprise leads. Dorothy Crowfoot now closing ground. It's down to the 2 Ravelli runners. And Die Surprise has the lead at the wire. Die Surprise won a length and a half. Dorothy Crowfoot second. Then it was Chloe Attack, Dream Nap, and Pink Lady Lucia. In today's first race, 1 Dice Surprise finished first, 2 Dorothy Crowfoot second, 3 Chloe Attack third, 5 Dream Nap fourth. 1, 2, 3, 5 is posted. It's unofficial. 102.12 for the 5.5 furlongs on the firm turf course. Returning the unofficial winner, 1 Dice Surprise. Dice Surprise owned by SAB Stable Incorporated of Diane Olson. Larry Ravelli, the winning trainer. David Cohen, the winning rider. Still unofficial. Today's first race is official. Running time 102.12. The exact 1 2, $2.70. The 50-cent trifecta 1 2 3, $5.65. 20-cent superfecta 1 2 3 5, $4.16. Today's second race, win play show, exacta trifecta superfecta. Starts another daily double, another pick 3. Today's 50-cent early pick 4. In the second race, scratch 5, Prefectus Urbanus. Scratch 5, Prefectus Urbanus. No jockey changes, no overweights. Third race, scratch 5, Charlie's Beach. Scratch 5, Charlie's Beach. Fourth race has no changes. Fifth race, scratch number 4, Slava Ukraini. Fifth race, scratch 4, Slava Ukraini. Post time in 17 minutes at 2:36. In all cases, make your selections early. Thank you.
Hey, Larry Ravelli trained exacta in race number 1. I'll tell you, Dorothy Crowfoot with maybe just a little bit better racing luck might have actually caught Die Surprise late in there.
I thought so too. Got a little bit of contact from that one out of the gate. Ran a good race, all things considered in there. So, and then a couple of the horses we talked about, maybe not the most ideal spot for them, but could definitely improve in the right conditions. And as you mentioned, Larry Ravelli runs run 2 in the opener.
Nice return for Chloe Attack being an Illinois-bred horse too. You get the bonus for finishing 3rd. So good for Vance Childers to take that shot and get a little bit of return on his investment for that as well. Here in race number 2, Illinois maiden allowance runners. They go 3/4 of a mile, scratch to 5. Perfectus Urbanus. Well, right now your favorite is Canyon Shadows, but let's start by taking a look at one of the first-time starters here. That's the 6, Cruisin' and Cursin. This one from the barn of trainer Ricky Lindsay. It is a 5-year-old making its debut, but I'll tell you, looking at the horse makes a pretty good impression in the paddock right now. I kind of expected the front wraps first out just being a 5-year-old starting out, but this is a big, strong, good-looking racehorse.
Yeah, and I noted in the pre-race show, was taking some money in the doubles, and we're currently seeing that action here. And, you know, I was running some stats just looking at some of the Lindsay runners first out, and actually ran into a common race with Good Yag way back at Arlington Park, because the barn doesn't start that many runners, and this one making their, and they actually run okay first out. So even though it is a belated debut, it's kind of like that runner we're going to talk about. You've waited this long, probably race ready.
Yeah, we'll see if this one is race ready, but looks pretty good in the paddock right now.
Yeah, so it's had some intent for sure.
I would think so too. 7-2 on the board right now. They're on a Cruisin' and Cursin. The one horse in here is Canyon Shadows. Canyon Shadows at 6-5 on the board. Let's see if we can find this one. I think right there. Yep, they like to tuck in on the end, but 2 horses were already blocking that area. So there's Canyon Shadows coming from the barn of Frank Kirby. Julio Felix gets the call. He's been aboard for all 5 starts, and this horse has run a couple of good races. Probably the one to beat in here.
Going back to those first 2 starts, definitely the horse to beat. Those are solid speed figures. The debut had to rush up, ended up chasing the lone chalk winner that day, then made a wide move in the 2nd start. Since then, though, declining figures. Now, is going to get back to the main track, but you have to wonder, you know, they pointed to the turf. There really wasn't much excuse in terms of trip. The race last out, which was just 1 week ago, they went slow early, very slow late. Canyon Shadows lost ground, so probably in the right spot. Again, running back to those first 2 races, major player, but is going to have to get back to those races to compete.
Yeah, you get a look at him right there on your screen.
Good.
He does look good. He's probably the fastest to the front unless one of the firsters shows some speed. So we'll see what we get, but he is your current 6-5 favorite. The 4 is Dominant D. Dominant D is your second choice at 2-1 right now. This one from the barn of Elias Lopez. Lopez scratched the other one. This one stays in on debut. Has been working forwardly towards the spot. It was a good gate drill back on May the 26th. Most recently on June the 26th. Just an easy half. Another one that does debut first out with those front wraps as well.
Yeah, it's a 3-year-old, so taking on some of the older, but it's just a new face in here, getting some intention and maybe intent with the scratch of the other and running this one instead. Like to see this one a little bit more, just kind of getting out there, how they're taking it in, giving up some experience. But if you're looking for a new face, why not take a shot with the young, first-time starter?
Horse's name, Dominant D. Dominant camera work by Steven down there in the paddock as well, getting a look at those front bandages for us for that first-time starter. The 2 is Good Yeg. Good Yeg right there on your screen. Another one that does, I think, have the front bandages on. It looks like it's a black front bandages. I would have expected that as well. Thank you again, Steven, down there for giving us that look, because this one's been away since the end of 21. But Good Yeg has put forth some decent races in his career. It's just a 7-year-old returning off a how many day layoff? It was a lot.
It was a lot. 952-day layoff, but you're going to wait that time. His most recent start was late in that 4-year-old campaign, comes back as a 7-year-old. You're keeping him around. You're usually keeping him around for a reason. Makes a good appearance, does have the front wraps on for the first time, but as you mentioned, coming off the layoff, being an older horse, I think that's a more of a precaution than a concern in this case. And speed figure wise, he's run some solid numbers. His figure here back on 2021 October, that 74 is one of the strongest in this field. Running back, that makes him a player.
952 days for that one. He's been away from the races. He heads back out on the track right now. His riders again a leg up for race number 2. Good luck.
Coming on the track for race 2, they'll go 6 furlongs. Scratch number 5, Prefectus Urbanus, field of 5, no jockey changes, no overweights, win play show, exacta trifecta, superfecta. It starts another daily double, another pick 3. Today's 50 cent early pick 4. They are parading, or they are 1 Kenyan Shadows. Julio Felix is the rider. 2 Good Yeg, Carlos Yaloa. 3 Tigger Attack with Israel Hernandez riding. 4 Dominant D, Frank Reyes. 5 is Scratch. 6 Cruisin' and Cursin. Emmanuel Giles will bring him to the gate, and they'll all be there in about 4 minutes. Kick off the 50 cent early pick 4 here at Hawthorne. Racing fans, little time remains for you to wager on today's second race, which features rolling daily doubles, rolling pick threes, and the 50-cent early pick four. They're moving towards the gate less than a minute. They're at the starting gate for today's second race here at Hawthorne. Horses are entering the starting gate. Last two to go in will be Tigger Attack and Curson. Well, let's go with Cruisin' and Curson. Although if he doesn't win, we may be cursing. Waiting now for Cruisin' and Curson. They're all in the gate. They're off. Canyon Shadows going for the lead. Dominant D showing early speed between those two. Good Yeg. Up on the outside, here's Cruisin' and Curson. And then a gap to the trailer, Tigger Attack. And on the mid-back stretch they go. Canyon Shadows leads a neck in between horses. Dominant D second. The outside, Cruisin' and Curson, three wide third. Those three now across the track as they run into the far turn. Good Yeg, 2.5 lengths back in fourth and trailing the field. Tigger Attack. They move around the far turn, 3 furlongs to go. Canyon Shadows, the leader, a length. Dominant D racing second. Cruisin' and Curson out there third. Good Yeg trying to come on fourth. Tigger Attack moving a closer fifth as they turn for the money. Canyon Shadows comes off the turn, 3 on top. On the outside, Dominant D still chasing second. Good Yeg now gaining ground along the inside, moving into second. Dominant D is third. Tigger Attack fourth inside the final furlong. Canyon Shadows has the lead. Good Yeg chasing second. Dominant D is third. They're coming to the wire. It's Canyon Shadows in front. Good Yeg was second. Then it was Dominant D, Tigger Attack, and Cruisin' and Cursin'.